2019. 9 hours, 14 minutes, 53 seconds.
911, where's your emergency?
Someone just shot my window.
Okay, where at?
I'm in the Cooley State away, but I can see them driving off.
Okay, someone shot at your vehicle?
Yeah, and it hit my window. It shattered my driver's side window.
Okay, when you pulled into his driveway?
As I was trying to pull into my driveway.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little lost of breath. They just drove off. I saw them drive off.
Okay. Do you know who these people are?
I have no idea. I moved into a new home about a week ago.
That's all right. Oh, which way did they go? Do you remember?
They're driving south towards Pecos Road, between Pecos and Wrecker.
Okay. Okay. You don't see the vehicle anymore?
No, they left. They drove off.
Okay.
I'm pulling into my house because they're gone.
Okay. Where are you at right now?
In my car.
Where are you at?
In my car at my house at 3-8.
Oh.
Walk over here and see if I can see what they shot at me.
And what kind of car were you in?
I'm in a black Tesla Model X.
It's a black what?
Tesla Model X.
Okay, black Tesla Model X. Okay. Okay. All right. I do have officers on the way to meet you.
Okay.
Do you want to go inside or do you want to wait outside wherever you... Okay. All right. And what is your name?
My name's Brandon Boudreaux.
Hi there. So what's going on?
Someone just shot my window out.
Okay, give me a little bit more than that.
Yeah, so I was just pulling in.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed a green Jeep Wrangler.
Okay.
It's like a pukey green color. Had a Texas plate.
Mm-hmm.
I just moved in like a week ago, so I
Okay.
thought maybe it was just my neighbor.
Okay.
So as I was kind of pulling in, they lifted their like back window.
Okay.
I saw a muzzle. They shot.
Are we talking a real gun, a BB gun?
It's got to be like a BB gun or an airsoft.
Okay, so they shot, then what happened?
It hit my window, and instead of turning in, it scared me really bad.
Okay.
I thought, I'm getting shot at, so I drove straight. So
Okay.
I drove straight really fast.
Okay.
Pulled around the corner, got my phone out, called 911, sat there, drove a little further up. I watched them come around the corner.
What do you mean coming around the corner? Come around the corner where?
So I drove up there. I drove
Okay.
to this street.
Gotcha.
Right, went a little further.
Okay.
Parked by, there's a park right there.
So he went northbound on that
Northbound.
street.
Turned right, and I watched him turn right down here, and I knew there was only one way out of this neighborhood.
Okay.
It was on Pecos and Wrecker, so I told that to the dispatcher.
Okay, so he was on Wrecker. He went, but you don't know if he went onto Pecos. You just know Wrecker Road.
Well, he didn't get on Wrecker. He stayed on this, and he came out on. He had to have gone out on Pecos because that's the only way.
Oh, he stayed in the neighborhood. He did not go out to Wrecker. I got you covered. Okay.
And I was nervous, so I was kind of waiting because I didn't want him to follow me.
So we don't know where, if he went on Pecos, left, right.
I don't. I didn't follow him anymore. I was a little uncomfortable.
Okay. 11-22, just for information on units, left the neighborhood south toward Pecos and unknown from that location. Okay.
So it was really loud, so that's why I didn't think it was a BB gun, but it could have been maybe
Well, let's look. So you were just pulling into the driveway. They were sitting here.
Yeah, so I was
So were they facing then west? Because if they opened the back?
Yeah, he opened the back, and there had to have been two people, I think, because
Okay.
were so quick. So they were parked right here.
Right, facing that way.
Facing towards this van.
Gotcha.
And so my window was like perfectly aligned because I was kind of starting to pull in.
Okay, so you didn't totally pull in yet. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can see my window. It shattered, but it didn't go through, which means it couldn't have been a real bullet. Because I didn't think about that for a second.
Oh. Whoa, hello. Is that
Sorry, my
who's?
car, I'm not good.
Okay, I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, oh wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Is this going to shut on me if I get close?
No, because I'll
Okay.
key inside.
Well, I don't think that's a BB gun.
One Frank calling us, Ninja 459. It's been holding for over 2 hours.
Alright.
District 6.
Alright, so it looks like they shot up anything, it'd be there. Alright, so you just moved in.
Yeah.
Okay, you just moved. Okay, so was this a vacant home at the time?
Previously, yeah.
Okay.
It's a rental.
Alright. So you're the owner though, right now? Or you you're okay, so you're just renting it. Did the owners of the house, can I open?
Yeah.
Is this, how do you open this door? Go ahead.
Right.
Oh, look at you.
Sorry.
That's pretty sweet.
One Frank 12, Officer Taylor.
Anyway, did the owners of the house say anything to you who was renting the house before you or anything?
No.
Alright. Do you have any enemies? Anybody that you...
I just went through a divorce. There was some crazy stuff that happened with her aunt killed her husband, but I would hope that has nothing to do with this.
Okay. Did you live here in the valley before? Where'd you move from?
10 years.
I'm sorry?
I've lived here for 10 years.
Okay, so you moved, where'd you move from? Here in Gilbert,
I just
or?
sold a house over on Quinn, just right by the...
Okay. And no issues at work, no issues, enemies or anything? Okay.
Other than the only people that I could even think of would be that group. But,
The family?
Yeah.
Your ex-wife's?
Yeah.
All right. It's kind of weird. All right, let me grab my camera and get some pictures. All right, so you were coming here. Did it look like a long rifle? Did it look like a rifle type?
Yeah, it looked like a rifle or something. Like there was a muzzle. There was like some kind of a muzzle thing on it. Mm-hmm. And they just lifted up the back gate and shot.
Okay. So they were shooting this way. Okay. All right.
Oh, 13.25, go ahead and 1022. 11.23, you're much closer. Go ahead and have your turn.
What's up?
Hey, head over this way to the house. I want to show you something.
Yeah, man, I was just going through the school parking lot.
Yeah, I think it might be adults. But yeah, I think this might be a real gun too. Not sure. I just want to show you real quick.
Where did this
Right here, right in the street here on Phelps. He was heading westbound, just about to drive into his driveway. And the green Jeep was parked right here on the side, right next to his house, just west of the house, facing west. And whoever was in the back opened up the back of the Jeep Wrangler, the little door in the back, whatever you want to call it, the flip thing, and shot one. So the guy didn't make it into his driveway. It shot and it actually hit the driver's window, blew out the window. And so the guy got scared and kept driving westbound. And then as he's round the corner, that's when the Jeep Wrangler took off, kind of circled in the neighborhood, and then headed toward Pecos, don't know where. So, I'm going to take some pictures. Okay, bye. Where was the window? Where did that land? Because I'm assuming you picked that up.
It actually stayed on my door.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, when I drove around.
So when you got out of your car right now is where it lays?
Because you saw it just opens automatically. As soon as
Yeah.
it opened, the window fell off, and so
That's just weird how that opens. That would freak me out.
yeah.
Alrighty. All right, so whereabouts, what were you say? Were you about right here?
Right here.
Okay.
I saw the tailgate lift up.
Yeah.
Pointed the gun at me. Shot.
Okay, so it would have went.
I heard a loud boom.
Yeah.
My window shattered, and then I just.
Right. I'm trying to figure out trajectory.
I'll call Scott and have him come out.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Okay.
Too.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Okay, there's nothing.
It's stuck in there.
You think so?
Absolutely.
That's what I was wondering, but I don't see. It's got to be back in here.
Yeah.
I'm not touching.
Come on, no.
Anyway.
Who's pissed off at you? How long is that? Really? Who just killed her husband?
They claim self-defense. He died at their house. It was in Chandler. They think I'm involved in it.
Contact at 103 Charles Lobby.
Alright, so he's right about here. Okay, you guys want to go just right over here for just a sec. Let me get some pictures real quick.
Where were you on the car? No, like what's the street? Where were you?
You all be playing 3 in on the 5-1.
Alright. Now, the green you're talking about, are we talking that type of green?
Like a hunter green?
Like a pukey green.
Cute
Okay, that's kind of more of a pukey green. Are we talking a chartreuse? I know that sounds like got a gazillion colors, green.
Let me just try and find it on my nest.
Look at your nest. He's got a nest.
Oh,
Right there.
wow, fantastic. Do you have is that your car registered to you? The driver, or your registration? Okay, I'll just get all your information off of that real fast.
There you go. Camel green.
Oh, camel green. Okay.
You're good, dude. Are they sending a detective up? This definitely.
I don't know.
The detective should
Is
come
I'm
out.
assuming.
Still
Well,
recording.
oh, I am too. Scott's coming out.
Walk up. Is he?
I don't know.
You need to call him.
Well, I
Did you
thought he
call
was coming. Well, you just said about Scott coming out.
No, I said I would call him.
Oh,
Do you
well,
want
of
me to call
course.
him?
I thought he was coming out.
I'll
Let's
call
just
him right now.
get him on the radio and say, "Come on out." There goes a gray. Now, is it I gotta find out 2-door, 4-door. But anyway, get him out here. I thought he was already on the way.
I'm gonna walk up and down these streets.
Yeah, see if we have any more
I'm gonna see.
cameras.
Yep, I'm gonna walk up this one and then back down.
Cool, thanks. Are you Brandon? All right, cool. So what would you say, how many minutes before you called us did this happen?
I just called right as soon as it happened.
Okay, fantastic. Now, were you able to, because you're coming in, they're facing that way, so you're not going to be able to see. When they passed you, when you were parked, were you able to see any description of these people? Is it a guy, a girl, anything? Okay.
I was trying to make sure I had enough distance in case they shot at me.
Okay.
That was police body cam footage from October 2nd of 2019, the day Brandon Boudreaux was attacked outside his home in Gilbert, Arizona, by a mystery shooter aiming out from the back part of a camo green Jeep. Thankfully, the perpetrator narrowly missed his target, ripping instead into Brandon's Tesla. Hi, I'm T, and this is Bed Crime Stories podcast, and this is the story of how the husband of Lori Vallow Daybell's niece, Melani, was nearly unalived on October 2nd of 2019. Brandon escaped death by the hair on his chinny chin chin. Lori Daybell will be on trial for that attempt in June of 2025. Now, let's dig in. Oh, before we do that, please like, share, subscribe, and please consider a membership. So, Brandon was in the process of divorcing his wife, Melani, with whom he shares 4 children. And unfortunately for Brandon, Melani was tied to doomsday mom Lori Vallow Daybell, whose own husband, her 4th husband, Charles Vallow, had died just 3 months earlier after being attacked by Lori's brother, Alex Cox. Brandon was well aware of what happened to Charles, and so his first thought after this attack was that it could have something to do with Lori Vallow and her brother, Alex. Brandon was also well aware that Melani had been hanging out a lot with her Aunt Lori. Melani's mom, Stacy Cox, who is Lori's sister, had died when Melani was a little girl, and Lori, ironically, was serving as a mother-like figure to Melani. I say ironically because we now know that Lori was anything but maternal, having conspired with Alex and her lover, Chad Daybell, to get rid of Charles, as well as her 2 youngest children, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. But back in early October of 2019, when this happened to Brandon, no one yet knew the full extent of Lori, Alex, and Chad's crimes that same year. Charles was the only family member who was known to be dead at this point, and again, he died 3 months earlier on July 11th of 2019 after being hit by 2 projectiles shot by Alex Cox. Lori's daughter, 17-year-old Tylee, was missing, although nobody yet knew it. She was last seen alive in a photo taken on September 9th at Yellowstone National Park. Now, that would have been roughly a month before Brandon was attacked. 7-year-old JJ Vallow was also missing, but as with Tylee, no one yet knew it. JJ was last seen alive on September 23rd. It would take until November 25th of 2019 for JJ's grandparents, Kay and Larry Woodcock, to request a welfare check. So the kids were already deceased by the time Kay and Larry realized something was very wrong. Chad Daybell's wife, Tammy, would soon die in her bed, 17 days after somebody tried to unalive Brandon Boudreaux. So Brandon gets attacked on October 2nd, and he narrowly cheats death. He only knows at that point that Melani's uncle, Alex Cox, has unalived Lori's 4th husband, Charles. But Brandon clearly feels that something fishy is going on, and he thinks this attack is likely tied to Melani's Aunt Lori and Uncle Alex. He can't think of anybody else who would want to do this to him. And as we all know, the first suspect in a crime like this is usually the person's spouse or ex-spouse or significant other. Thus, it's no surprise that the Gilbert police in Arizona called Brandon's soon-to-be ex-wife Melani in the next day for an interview. Now, by this point, Melani had already been drinking jugs of Aunt Lori's and Chad Daybell's Fruit Loop-flavored Kool-Aid. Melani actually went to the Preparing the People event in St. George, Utah, where Lori met Chad. We also know that on October 31st of 2018, Chad Daybell activated a Cricket wireless phone and used it to call only a few people, including Lori, Alex, and Melani Boudreaux. It seems likely, therefore, that Melani was listening to Chad's ideas about people having a light and dark rating. And we know that Brandon Boudreaux was given a 3D, meaning level 3 dark rating by Chad Daybell. You do not want to be on the dark rating list that belongs to Chad. We know what happens to people who are rated dark. In addition, Lori, in March of 2019, mentioned attending a birthday party for her grandbaby, who had just turned 2. Now, because Lori's only true grandchild was just age 1 at this time, it appears that Lori must have been referring to Melani and Brandon's toddler. This would seem to indicate that Lori Vallow viewed herself as Melani's mother at this time. And if your mother died when you were little, you'd probably be looking for a replacement mother figure as well. I think Melani was ripe for the pickin' because of that. We also know that Charles Vallow blamed Lori for meddling in Melani and Brandon's marriage. And Lori had included Melani in a text she sent to her family members, asking them not to answer Charles Vallow if he tried to contact them. We also know Lori texted Melani the day before Charles was unalived, telling her she could not travel to Las Vegas to attend a friend's wedding. And Melani really wanted to go to that wedding, but Lori told her she needed to stay close by. And Melani ended up pretending to be sick, although she may have snuck out to Las Vegas to attend the wedding. And by the way, Brandon, before Charles' death, was also blocking Charles on his phone, likely because of Lori and Melani urging him to do that. In the spring of 2019, Melani Boudreaux's father, Steve Cope, observed a significant change in Melani's behavior, including a flat mood, a filthy house, holes in the walls of the home, Melani being constantly on the phone, Melani going frequently to the Mormon temple, Melani referencing light and dark spirits, warriors, and the end of times. By then, Melani seems to have been swimming in a pool of Lori's Kool-Aid. And in May of 2019, Melani's stepmom, Christy Cope, visited Melani and Brandon, and she also took notice that the house was, quote, filthy and unkept, end quote. There were holes in the walls. It sounds like one of Melani and Brandon's daughters may have put the holes in the wall. Christy also observed that pretty much everybody in the house was constantly on an electronic device. And Melani would just suddenly announce that she was leaving for a couple of hours to go to the temple. Melani's frequent trips to the temple were likely tied to the belief, which the other Melani Gibbs, shared, which was that going to the temple increased a person's vibration level and thinned their veil. So this may have been why Melani Boudreaux was hitting up the Mormon temple like it was a Starbucks. Could it be that Melani Boudreaux not only wanted a mother figure, but maybe she also wanted to see beyond the veil in order to communicate with her biological mother, Stacy Cox, I'm wondering. Now, Melani moved into a rental home in Chandler, Arizona on June 20th of 2019. That would be roughly 4 months before Brandon was attacked. Lori Vallow had also just moved into the rental home Charles leased for her in Chandler. By the way, when Melani asked Brandon for a divorce, Brandon said he was caught off guard. He'd thought they had a happy marriage, so it was overwhelming to him to learn that Melani wanted out after so many years together and 4 children. Melani files for divorce in July of 2019, the same month Charles Vallow was unalived. On July 8th, Melani and Brandon officially began their divorce proceedings. Melani was continuing to pay for life insurance on Brandon, despite seeking the divorce. The life insurance was to the tune of $1 million, but Melani will later lie about that when she's talking to the cops. 2 days before Charles Vallow's death, Lori and Melani were furiously texting each other. In some of the messages, Lori and Melani talked about Brandon Boudreaux and his dark spirit. Lori was advising Melani to keep one of her 4 children away from Brandon. Lori also texted Melani when Alex Cox arrived at her house in preparation for the attack on Charles Vallow. In addition, there were many text messages between Lori and Melani on the day Charles died. Unfortunately, many of them were later deleted, and law enforcement was not able to retrieve them. So we'll never know exactly what Lori and Melani were saying. 2 days after Charles' death, on July 13th, Melani Boudreaux was confronted by Adam Cox, Lori's older brother, and her husband, Brandon, about her beliefs. Melani texted Lori saying Adam just called Brandon and told him Al, meaning Alex Cox, unalived Charles. Melani asks Lori if she can please talk to her. Melani writes Lori that Brandon asked if she still believes everything she believes. And I think that was a reference to light spirits, dark spirits, perhaps zombies. On July 19th, Melani texted Lori to tell her about a new burner phone to use for emergencies, and also she encouraged Lori to take out life insurance policies on JJ and Tylee. Yes, Melani Boudreaux did that. She wrote this to Lori, quote, "You should get a life insurance policy on JJ, Tylee, and you, 'cause after Charles, we see that anything can happen. It's in the Lord's will," end quote. I think she might have meant to write, "if it's in the Lord's will." So it's impossible to know if Melani is writing this because she really believes these events are in the Lord's will, or is she saying this because she knows just how evil Lori and Chad are? Also, Chad and Lori talked about Melani and Brandon's son, saying that this son was close to death and basically on the dark side of things. On July 26th, Chad and Lori discuss Melani and Brandon's daughter, Brighton, and they make it sound like Brighton may have landed on the dark list as well. And Lori told Melani about this, and she texted Chad that Melani took it really well. It does sound like Melani Boudreaux was aware of the dark rating system and was aware of the dark ratings that had been assigned to some of her children. And according to some people, Melani allegedly wanted those kids unalived. It sounds like one of Melani's daughters was the one who put the holes in the walls of the house. Kids aren't stupid. They see what's going on. They can sense when their parents are having trouble in the marriage. They can see their mother running to the temple and changing her behavior. and they can see the house becoming filthy because mom is not doing the normal chores. And I guess dad too. By August of 2019, Melani Boudreaux was actively trying to move to Rexburg, Idaho. In mid-August, Lori sent a screenshot of wedding rings similar to the ones that she got for her marriage to Chad. She sent those to Melani. This may indicate that Melani was aware that Tammy Daybell was going to die, and that was going to happen so that Chad and Lori could get Tammy's life insurance and could get married. So much of this story seems to be about money. On September 25th, Brandon moved into the rental home where that attack on his life would later take place. From September 26th to 29th, Melani visited Rexburg, Idaho, and she ended up signing a lease for apartment 107, which was near Alex Cox's condo and Lori Vallow's. On September 26th, Alex activated a new burner phone, and he seems to have been preparing for the attack on Brandon, allegedly. 2 days later, Alex visited a gun range in Rexburg. You have to wonder, was he practicing for his alleged attack on Brandon? And then, of course, on October 2nd, Brandon was attacked, but he survived. It's believed 2 people were in the Jeep, which would appear to have been Tylee's Jeep. Now, by now, unfortunately, Tylee was long deceased and, as well, disposed of on Chad Daybell's property like she was garbage. The real garbage, of course, was Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, Alex Cox. It seems likely that Alex was the one with the weapon in the back of the Jeep, and that would leave probably Lori to be the driver of the Jeep. And as I'm thinking about it, you have to wonder, did they drive Tylee's Jeep because they wanted to maybe make her look like the person who did the attack on Brandon? Nobody knew at this point that she was missing and deceased. And so they could take her Jeep, pull off this crime, and then once again maybe throw Tylee under the bus if necessary. Just seems like Tylee was always being neglected, thrown under the bus, which she continues to be thrown under the bus, even now that she's deceased. Lori seems to blame all the crimes on Tylee. Tylee did this to JJ, and then Tylee did it to herself. Of course, it's impossible to know how Tylee could have put herself in that state on Chad Daybell's property, right? Now, Melani asked friends from Chad and Lori's cult, let's call it what it was a cult. She asked people like Alex Cox and Melanie Gibb to talk to Brandon's former neighbors to try and find out where he moved. Alex Cox drove from Idaho to Gilbert, Arizona on October 1st. Alex searched for Brandon's new rental home. Alex started traveling to Brandon's house on October 2nd at 7:19 a.m. Alex was an early riser. At 7:25 a.m., Brandon left the house with his 4 children. At 9:14 a.m., Brandon returned home, and that's when a projectile from a camo green Jeep pierced his Tesla, narrowly missing his head and greatly freaking him out. As you can see, he dialed 911, which is what you do when something bad happens, unlike Chad and Lori when Charles was attacked. Now, the next day, Melani Boudreaux was interviewed by the Gilbert police. She denied knowledge of the crime, but she was unable to explain the details of her day on October 2nd. And note that when the detective called Melani on the day of the crime, she didn't ask what the call was in reference to. The cops then allowed her to bring her and Brandon's 2-year-old to the police station. which you're going to see makes it very difficult to hear the interview. When asked if she'd spoken to anyone, Melani referenced calls from Brandon that she didn't answer. To me, it's highly sus that she ignored Brandon's calls. She said Brandon sent her a message saying merely that he'd had a bad day. A bad day? I think it was more than a bad day. He narrowly cheated death. Now, when the detective tells Melani that somebody tried to unalive Brandon, Melani doesn't have a change of expression, and she doesn't say anything. I'm going to let you take a look at that. I'm going to share now her interview with the police on October 2nd, the day after the attack on Brandon occurred. I've tried to remove sections where audio was redacted, and I've also removed sections where nobody was talking to shorten this rather long police interview. And of course, I apologize for the toddler's voice, but that's how it was recorded. You have to wonder about the cops in Gilbert. My hope is that this video will prepare you well for Lori Daybell's final trial in Arizona for the attempt on Brandon Boudreaux's life. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. And now grab a cocktail, grab a soda or a pop, whatever you call it, sit down, relax, and watch what Melani does in her police interview.
Before we get all started, I just want to go through some logistics of everything. What's your first name? And you are mother to, you are married?
So we're working through a divorce. I don't actually know if it's final or not. They said, since we worked through mediation, they said we'll get something in the mail. So I looked online and updated. So we've submitted everything for it. It just has to be signed off by the judge. So that's where we're at with.
Okay, so you've actually gone through the court system, signed divorce paperwork?
Yeah, so through mediation, we submitted everything to her, and she said everything's good, just the judge has to sign off on it, and then we get something in the mail.
Okay, so
it's got to be getting close.
Currently married then, but it's at the short of getting something that says it's official.
Right.
Okay. And that marriage was with whom? Okay. And you guys all in common? Are your children together?
Yes.
Any other kids?
Nope.
That you have? Okay. Any other kids that he has?
Not that I know.
Fair enough. All right. And you are living right now at the...
I don't know. He said he moved in a couple weeks ago, but he had some receipts that were he was in Seattle that weekend, so I don't really know. It's been mixed things what he's told me, so I'm not sure. I'm assuming he's been there for at least over the weekend.
All right, so it hasn't been very long.
No, just barely moved there.
Okay. And your custody agreement is, what's the custody arrangement with the...
So, I've had the kids full-time until he moved into his own place, and now we've worked doing 50-50, so like Mondays and Tuesdays are his, then Wednesdays, Thursdays are mine, and then we alternate the extended weekends.
The Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Sunday, yeah.
And is it your weekend then?
I also watch, because he says he's at work.
Okay. So. And are you working right now?
I'm not.
All right. Yeah, I don't know if movies or something. Okay, so divorce, and how is your current relationship with?
There's a lot of threats and bullying. I try to just minimize like the texting at all. Last night he kind of blew my phone up and was kind of acting different, and I just didn't want to talk to him. Didn't know what he kind of has gotten himself into, and so our relationship isn't like awesome.
How long were y'all married?
Would have been 11 years this Halloween.
Okay.
So.
And just together 11 years. What happened with you, Charles?
So there was a lot of like lies and manipulation. he traveled all the time, sometimes like a month at a time for DirecTV and AT&T. And then this last year I found some videos, a lot of like gay activity, and I kind of kept it to myself until I knew for sure. He started to do a lot of bad business deals with people that just had many people come to us say, don't do business with this type of person, is not a good person. I kind of let him deal with the funds because I was doing everything for the kids. They kept me busy. That was my full-time job. And so just started to find a lot of stuff, and then finally over the summer we were on a family trip, and I just kind of felt like I needed to confront him and know for myself. And he kind of flopped that whole thing on me, said I'm crazy, there's no way he's doing all those things. He said, I'm crazy, I need to get a mental eval, and he took the kids from me to his parents. And I kind of just kept my peace because I knew, I'm like, okay, I know I'm not crazy, and I know truth will stand, and so it'll be okay. And, it's been okay. We've been able to work through doing 50-50, but there's still been a lot of, money he owes me, a lot of reasons why he can't pay it to me and stuff. So I feel like he's stressed about money to an extreme, which has worried me, and I've noticed some different behaviors with him. I don't know for sure, but I've heard that he's been taking drugs, ecstasy, which is like a more common gay thing. I guess I don't know. I'm learning about all this. I've noticed he always has sunglasses on, even when it's dark and I go to pick up the kids. He's got sunglasses on. So yeah, I mean, I've gotten to a point where there's been so many lies I don't believe what he says anymore. So I don't know how to. We're just doing it the best we can, the back and forth, trying to just not see him as much. If it's in a text, most of the time he tries to be more sweet, and then, in person, more like the bullying, manipulation kind of stuff. And so I feel like the less I say, the less interaction I have with him, and just kind of stay calm is usually better with him.
What's your primary way of communicating?
Just through phone.
Okay. Telephone, or is it text or something else?
We try to just do text, and so he called me a ton of times. Last night he said, "Can I call you? It's important." And I just over and over calls and texts, and I kind of felt like something was off, and so I just didn't answer. This morning he said, "I've had a bad day," and then I responded this morning, and I said, he said, "I just want to make sure the kids are okay." So I was like, "Yeah, the kids are fine. Like, they're in bed when you called, and we're getting ready for school. It's early in the morning. I hope you're having a better day." But yeah, I tried to only text. That's why it was weird when he was like, "I can call you," left me a message. He said, "I don't want to talk about it over the phone."
Did you guys talk at all last night?
No, I just texted him this morning.
Okay.
So.
And what did you text him this morning?
When or what?
Both.
So I just said, yes, the babies are fine. They were tucked in bed, getting ready for school now. Hope you're having a better day. And that was at 6:52 a.m.
Okay. Sorry, as with everything, there's a lot going on, so
yeah, that's fine.
I apologize. I'm just pushing some of the messages off. All right, so you guys were married for a while, and then you said you found things. Tell me more about that.
So I found a video of him dancing at a Pink Pony Club on another guy. I found text messages between him and his business partner, as well as like gay talk. Found gay pictures. I found like he would do business with someone, lie about money, where it's going, kind of. And honestly, I didn't really know a lot of the business he was doing. I kind of just let him deal with that. I just wouldn't know where he's traveling because he traveled all the time. So I just, we just knew Dad's gone a lot for work, and but when his business started to go bad with AT&T, he invested all of our savings with a guy who lives here in Gilbert, who a lot of people then came to us and said, don't work with this guy. And ever since then, it's been kind of.
How long ago was that?
I think he did the final investment like in March.
Okay.
So he put just shy of $200,000 into an insurance business. And then, he just became really stressed about money, traveled. He said he's been traveling to Vegas every week for some sort of business. So, and I don't know if that's confirmed and true. That's just kind of what I was told.
Okay. And so you said you found some things that made you believe that he was gay, and then you mentioned drugs. Tell me more about that.
I just noticed his behaviors kind of like ups and downs. Like he would be, he lost like, I think like 70 pounds in two months. I've known him for 10 years. He's run marathons and never been able to lose that weight. And so everything kind of just seemed a little bit off. And then I noticed some days when he didn't have sunglasses on, real just like depleted, low energy, really depressed when we'd drop the kids off, and other days, like the next day, he'd have sunglasses on, standing up tall, just acting like a total, everything's fine, total confidence. He had mentioned that some of his guys in his company, I don't know the correct terms on it, but taking it like through the bottom. And so I don't know if they would do gay sex after that to have that. I don't know. It kind of, all the pieces kind of came together, like, that would make sense why he's been a little bit stressed out.
Did you ever see any of the drugs?
I didn't.
Okay. And then aside from the videos on the phone and everything, did you find any other pornography or anything else, or did he ever say anything related to any type of homosexuality or being gay or anything along those lines?
He was very defensive over anything gay, always. Over the top, like that's going to make me sick, but he would have pornography on Pinterest most of the time.
Okay.
And then say, well, I don't know how I got there.
And when you say pornography, tell me, what does that mean to you?
Naked body parts,
okay.
Naked women, naked men.
So, when did the marriage start having some troubles? Some noticeable troubles?
It's been harder just because he travels all the time. But I mean, I don't feel like things were like necessarily bad. It was just hard. I would do everything for the kids and always kind of felt less stressed with that. But last October, he started to just do a lot of manipulation tactics that I just didn't have like a good gut feeling about. Like he'd say like, I prayed about it, we need to invest $200,000 in this. Prayed about it, we need to do this. And I just felt something was off. And I was, okay, do whatever you feel like you need to do, but I just felt something was off. But then that's when, probably November when I started finding stuff. He did a 2-week trip in January to India, and I found like some computer between him and two. So, I mean, things weren't bad until like last November, and I tried to just keep the marriage flowing until I knew for sure. But in end of June, like, what is all this stuff? He went, told me, flopped it all, said there's no way he's gay, I'm crazy. He's told lies to my family and those relationships. Like, it's kind of just been rough since then.
Okay. And tell me about the money situation, how it was in your marriage, how it's been through the divorce, and how it is now.
He's always made a lot of money.
Do you want me to text it?
I don't know. He's had different companies, so he's done pest control businesses, his own businesses with his own friends, kind of. Then, I mean, if he needed money transferred somewhere, he would sometimes let me know, sometimes he wouldn't, and because I paid the bills, and so I'd be like, oh, gosh, we've got $9,000, it's just like somewhere, and he'd be like, oh, I told you about that, and I'd be like, no, I'm like really organized, and spreadsheets and stuff, like there's, and so when that started to happen more, and he kept saying, I told you about this, there was $30,000 transferred, around March, I was like, no, for sure you didn't tell me, like $30,000 more is going into this guy's company. But we did really well. We were broke our first couple of years, doing college and stuff, and then we made probably $250 to $350 for a couple of years. But this last year, when business started to go bad, he decided to leave that company with AT&T, and then kind of didn't have a job for a while, didn't know what to do, and then invested the rest of our savings with this company for an insurance firm.
Do you know who that's with? So he invested in this company, this insurance company.
Insurance firm, yeah.
And when was that?
I think in March. I could find out for you. I think it was, what, purple? I think it was in March, and then as far as I know, so he linked his business accounts to our joint checking.
Okay.
So I can see all the stuff, and then wasn't in there though, the money he invested. It went to pay off Ryan's or something. I don't know where it all went. But apparently he had a business. So when we did mediation, I just didn't feel good about all these businesses he's in, and so I just asked for it to buy me out my half, whatever, so I don't have any responsibility in those, or liability in those businesses. And so his business partner, Chris Pierce, has been buying me out from all those businesses. Our divorce is final. But money right now is very short for him. Like because he has everything invested and then stocks. So I know he's brought up that he's stressed about, being able to pay child support and stuff already, and he hasn't been able to pay the full amount on reimbursements for schools and stuff like that. So we're okay though, because we've got bought out on those from his business partner. Like we're not stressed about money. Like I'll be okay until she goes to training to work again.
Okay.
So for him, I'm sure he's stressed out.
And when you say bought, I kind of roundabout talking about.
So invested 180, I believe. So I got 90,000 from Chris Pierce, and he just paid me 6,000 from I think this was or his businesses. So 6,000 from that, and then he has something. He built computer rigs or something with a partner in Utah that he has to pay me still on. So I don't think everything's been paid out yet, but that's been enough so that we feel safe and we're fine.
And is there any more money that's owed to you right now?
Yeah, so those computer rigs, there's a pest control company did just reimbursements he agreed to pay back on.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say I've had kids full-time since July, and so he said he'd reimburse things.
Mommy.
You've had the children full-time since July. Is that when the divorce?
Yeah, so that's when we started mediation as a mediator. So Melani, you guys need a quick separation, take the kids, go get a rental, and so
And so from July to just recently, he hasn't had kids.
He had them this last weekend.
But
That
before
was his first overnight. He would, the mediator had set up times for him, but he said, I can't make those times, I have to go to Vegas. So I was trying to be flexible with him and say, I want to see you. So some weekends I'd let him have them during the day or whenever he could, that available for him.
Okay. All right, so the kids on a regular basis, but now that he has a new residence, the plan was to do the 50-50. Okay. And the divorce is final as far as you know, just waiting on papers.
Yeah.
And is he giving support alimony?
Yes.
How much is that?
He just paid for the first $4,300, but I need to check. I don't know if that was the correct amount or not. I need to check.
Yeah, but you have a mediator to do all the, well, not a mediator at that point, but you have somebody to make sure all that's going correctly, right, as far as the finances go and everybody's obeying the rules?
No, I don't know. I'm kind of unsure about that, just because he'll hold some hostage. Like, I'm not paying you this until you or whatever. So I don't have him if he doesn't. I just feel like we're okay, we have enough that I don't feel like I have to. If he chooses to not pay child support or something, like, we're going to be okay. We'll survive. We've been okay with our savings. So I don't know how that's enforced, I guess.
Okay. And how do you feel about Brandon at this point, where you guys are at with your relationship or where it's
I don't know. I'm sad about it. I'm worried for him. I just sense like I know he's stressed about money and about everything else, but he hasn't kept his word on some of the things he said in mediation. Like he just told a ton of lies to my family, family, the mediator said, why are you talking to her family, creating this triangle? You talk to them anymore. And then as soon as he walked out of mediation, he said, you know, so then talk to your family. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and you're going to do what you're going to do, basically. So it's sad. I didn't ever, I kind of feel like there was a double life going on. I feel blindsided. I feel like I just didn't see all this stuff going. I was very careful last year when I started finding out things because, like, you never want to believe somebody's doing those things to you. But I do feel, just a little, just uneasy with his decisions lately, and the kids have noticed some different behaviors, and just want to make sure they're safe and that he's safe too. I still love him and been